What's up, Raider Nation? Jahan and Rashawn coming back at you. Another episode, bye week over. Big week coming up. Josh Dobbs and company coming to Vegas. Jay Jedos coming back. Gonna be a tough challenge. Colton Miller's out. And Daniil Hunter could have a masterclass incoming. So got a lot to talk about. And what are your thoughts about Sunday?
Well, first, I want to see how our offense responds because the last 2 weeks we played some two good defenses in the Dolphins and Chiefs. The Vikings are solid, but I don't think they're up there with those teams. So this is a winnable game. Uh, it's I think our team will respond off the bye. I saw a stat the other day that said we're in the last 20 years, courtesy of Josh Dubow, we're 4-16 in the last 20 games off the bye, which is like atrocious. So I want to see how our coaches can use the extra time to have schemed up, and I'm interested to see how we respond. Um, Aiden O'Connell has to step up. Putting up, I think, 13 and 17 in the last 2 weeks is not acceptable. Against this offense, which is okay, they have a decent quarterback and they have some weapons, obviously, with Justin Jefferson coming back. We're going to have to put up 20 points to win. It's as simple as that. So I think it's going to be big. I want to see how our offense responds.
Yeah, and I honestly, with the offense coming, off the bye, I don't want to put it all on Aiden O'Connell. I think most of it falls onto Bull Hardegree's hands, especially for the second half play calling. When we're right in the game in the first half, and then in the second half, it just unravels because you're running three straight up the gut and punting on 4th and 7, or
Yeah.
first down you're running for a yard, second down you're running for a yard, and then 3rd and 8 you're throwing a short pass over the middle of the Renfro, which only gets 4 or 5 yards. Like you're running like a drag route for 4 or 5 yards, or you're running an out to Devontae, which is only going to get 6, which is getting really close. But I think we're seeing more of this Josh McDaniels play calling scheme in the second half of games, which is it doesn't make sense, honestly. I mean, it does because we are in the same system. Like, let's not try to say, oh, it's a new system and whatever. It's a new mentality, but it's still the same old system. Like we said in our previous videos, it's hard to just drop everything after a week and build a whole new scheme. So this guy essentially just picked the reins up where McDaniels had to leave it off, and he's not going to be the guy. He's not going to be calling plays for us next year. That's for sure. I think now, last 2 weeks, all you had to do was score like around 20 points and you would have won both those games. Um, I just don't, especially Miami. I mean, Miami was atrocious. You score 13 points and you lose, like, and you hold them to like 20. We lost
Yeah.
20-13.
20-13. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Like, how do you lose a
Yeah.
game on that low scoring to a team who scored 70 on Denver? Like,
Yeah.
you can't be in that kind of mix scoring 13, 17. You have to
Yeah.
score more than 20 points if you want to win in the NFL. That's just
Yeah.
how it is. But another
Yeah.
perspective that we got to talk about is Antonio Pierce. And it's his job really to get everyone fired up. And he did a good job of that the first 2 weeks. And I feel like the last 2 weeks, he's kind of calmed down, like essentially where it's kind of hit him now, like, oh, like we had two tough games against two tough conference opponents and they beat us like fair and square, straight up. It was not like the refs came, in between, with a close call or something. It was just we straight up came out flat in the second half. So
Yeah.
it's really a play calling thing, but it's also a leadership thing in the locker room at halftime when you're down by one or you're tied like in the Kansas City game and you just come out flat footed. We had that nice drive after Casey ran it down our mouth and scored 7. Coming back, we had that nice drive, which ended up in 3 points where Daniel Carlson
Yeah.
kicked. He actually made a 30-yard field goal where he missed it the first time around when we were up 14-0. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of putting it all together. And I don't think Antonio Pierce is there yet. And we've said it so many times. I don't want to be repetitive. I mean, we've been redundant basically the last few weeks. So I think it's time to get into the Minnesota game. New week, bye week, had time to rest up. Aiden O'Connell posting his pictures with Chubbies. I don't know if you've seen that. He's been Chubbies is like the only brand that will sponsor him. So that's all he does now. Is just every time it's his dog and his Chubbies. That's all it is. I don't think anyone's worn
Yeah.
Chubbies in years.
Yeah, and like we said, there's no excuses this week. Like the last 2 weeks, we were just the worst. We were not as good as those teams. It was understandable. We predicted that we would lose those games, but before the season, and obviously with Antonio Pierce, we said that we should win this game. We're at home. We have to win this game. Like it's if Antonio Pierce wants to keep the job, you got to take care of business here. It's inexcusable to lose in a game like this. And look at their defensive talent. Like they have Daniil Hunter, but there's not any stars on their defense. And I was looking right now, their defensive coordinator Brian Flores. He worked with, I believe, because he worked in Miami as well, right? So I think those guys know each other well. So Hardigree knows this guy's defense. It's pretty. That's a big advantage for us. So if he gets out schemed again, it's a big issue. Maybe we should have went with Nick Lombardi as our OC. I don't know, but something's got to change. We got outscored 31-3. Our Chiefs put up 31-3 after we scored 14. We're up 14-0. 31-3. It's like inexcusable with the roster that we have. So we clearly have the better roster. It's just going to be up to the coaching, like we've been saying.
Yeah, and another thing is that what's going to be key is Colton Miller's out. So Daniil Hunter could have a masterclass incoming. I mean, the season he's had, I think he's top 3 in sacks. I know Khalil Mack is number 1, which pains us to say it, but I mean, he just had an insane year. I mean, on a very shitty team. Like, I mean, what's new? He did it before on a shitty team. Like, he did it on Chicago and the Raiders. Like, I mean, minus 1 or 2 good years. Even last year, I just read today. Like, I saw first thing I woke up, I saw on Instagram was a post of Khalil Mack's quote saying, "After that shit last year, I wanted to retire," in reference to they were up 27-0 at halftime on the Jags and they blew it. They lost 31-30. And Khalil Mack was like, "I'm retiring, like that's it." But he
Yeah,
came back, he decided to stick with it, and he's had an insane defensive player of the year type season, minus the fact that Chargers have a shitty head coach and Justin Herbert is overrated. They can't win games. This week, I think they play Denver. So
they play Denver. Yeah,
that's going to be, I mean, we want both those teams to lose, obviously. Like, I mean, I don't,
yeah.
but I think it's more beneficial to us if the Chargers lose because Denver coming down the stretch, if they're 7-6 coming down the stretch, they're at 6-6 right now, I believe.
They're at 6-6.
Yeah, if they're coming down the stretch 7-6, I don't have confidence that they'll finish out the year strong. Plus, we have a
Yeah,
head with them and the Chargers. But it doesn't even it's not even about that. Like I keep stirring off into playoff picture at least. Like we know what we have to do to make the playoffs. We have to win 5 games in a row, and the odds of that happening are extremely, extremely low. I mean, we talked about this.
yeah.
But coming up this week, I think the biggest factor is gonna be that Colton Miller is not playing again. Like against Miami, we struggled like without Colton Miller on the left side. Like it was okay, but that you could see where O'Connell needed more time, in some passes, and he forced some passes. Like the last one to Trey Tucker was intercepted by Jalen Ramsey, which that ball hit the ground, by the way. The NFL just didn't call it, of course. The ball hit the ball clearly hit the ground. If you see the
Yeah,
go from the back, like from behind, you could see the ball hit the ground and bounce into his hands,
yeah,
and he still called it a pick.
yeah. And I do agree there that it's going to be big that Colt Miller's out, but he was out against Miami. Did he play against KC? I don't
He
remember.
came back against KC, and Max Crosby was doubtful and still played against KC.
Yeah. So against Miami, it wasn't ideal. Like O'Connell had a little pressure on him, but there were plays that we had that he was clean. Like he had a clean pocket on a lot of plays. It wasn't like the Charger game we had Colton Miller and we still got absolutely obliterated up front. So Colton Miller, that's a big loss, but it's not the end of the world. Like it's fine if he doesn't play. Like I still think we can win. And then on the defensive side, I want to hit this. You just mentioned Max Crosby. Obviously, he's injured. He had that whole fluid in his knee, but he's got to step up. The last 2 weeks, he hasn't. He hasn't done anything, and he's been injured. It's not his fault. But
Yeah,
if we want to be where we want to, our defense should be, like a top 5, top 10 defense. Against KC, we weren't that. Like we gave up 31 points in the second half. So you can blame the offense, but the defense, we're not going to score 31 points. So the defense, they're going to have to hold teams at least under 24. So we need Crosby to really at least get a sack today against Josh Dobbs, who he's a mobile quarterback. He's going to be running around. And Crosby has shown he can contain Lamar Jackson. He's been good against mobile quarterbacks. So
Yeah, and last week he did have a sack against Patrick Mahomes. Um,
did he? I don't
yeah,
even
he did.
remember.
He did have one sack against Patrick Mahomes. I was at the game. I could attest. That was 2 weeks ago now, but um, yeah, I think just defense in general. I mean, I've gotten to comment fights on Instagram this past week, like trying to defend like a Meek and stuff. Like when they're like, "Oh, Jay Jettoff's playing," everyone's writing, "Oh, he's about to have 300 yards and shit." I'm like, "Oh, wait till Meek got the clamps," and then people started beefing with me on Instagram, like so petty shit, like calling me a sixth grader and shit, like because of my profile picture is me when I was 5 wearing a Raiders hat. So they was getting pressed. They're like, "Oh, you're just a sixth grader. Like you don't know shit." I'm like, "Man, friggin' run a YouTube channel on the Raiders. I think I know more than you, bro. Like honestly." And then people are writing who like on a Meek Robertson. I'm like, "Bro, are you uneducated? Like Google shit. Like
Yeah.
you know who Meek Robertson is. You ain't a fan of the NFL. Like that. You just might be a fan of your team, but you don't like the league. You don't know who you're even playing probably." I hate those guys. Like, have you ran into those guys who are like, "Yo, man, I'm a Raiders fan or I'm a 49ers fan," and then they don't even know
Well,
like,
yeah. There'll be guys who just name the skill players. They'll just name all the receivers because they play fantasy. They don't know. They don't know the first thing about the league.
dude, tell
But
me about it, man. Hey, shout out Raider Neb, by the way. Raider Neb was out here before he went back to the Bay today, and he was telling me, like, damn, like in the Bay, they got like the real hardcore Raider fans still. So, yeah, shout out Raider Neb, man. Hope you see this.
yeah, and I don't know, man. Like we after the Miami game, I think you're gonna disagree with me on this, but I think our defense might be a bit overrated at the minute because Miami game we gave up 20 points, but they were still moving the ball on us, like that Tyreek touchdown, and there were plays that it was easy for them. Like our defense did its job. Like that's you can't expect them to do much better, but that's their best that they're gonna get, and they still were giving up plays against Miami. So like the defense didn't have a good game against KC, and they got absolutely worked. So I want to see how our defense responds, especially Marcus Peters is gone. I think that'll help us now that we have some better tackling in the secondary.
Yeah, Jack Jones
Um,
playing corner.
yeah, which will help. But I want to see Crosby because like he had that sack and I don't even remember it because it just seemed like he wasn't getting the explosiveness off the edge like he normally does. Normally he wrecks games like we see
Yeah.
it time and time again. But I just didn't see it the last 2 weeks. Like the pop wasn't there off the line. So I want to see how his knee is responding today, or excuse me, in 2 days.
But
But
see, the other thing is that I think he needs help. Like, okay,
yeah,
like no, I first of all, I think Tyree Wilson's a bust. I mean, I can't say that enough times. I don't think Tyree Wilson is going anywhere in this league. I don't think he's gonna have a breakout, year when he only has a one move. He has a bull rush move he uses every single time, and it just doesn't work. Like you can't just expect to take every single lineman off their feet, just bulldoze them over and try to get to the quarterback. I don't give a shit if you're 6'7", 270 pounds. It doesn't matter. These tackles are 6'8", 350. Like, these tackles are huge in the league. Like you're gonna try to put Trent Brown on his ass, like, and try to get to the quarterback. Like, I'm sure there's a highlight or film of some shot where he's going against Trent Brown when New England was here, and just Trent Brown just locked him up. Even though Trent Brown is a big fat baby, still
yeah,
Tyree Wilson,
it's a,
he's got to go. He's got to go.
yeah, it's embarrassing how these beat writers will say, "Oh, you got to give the guy time." Like look at Colton Miller. Everyone said he was a bust, and he panned out. Defensive linemen, you can clearly see if they've got it or they don't in their first year. Khalil Mack flashed. Max Crosby flashed. Cleveland Farrell, we knew
Yeah,
the
he didn't
first game
exactly.
he was just getting stonewalled at the line, and you
His
just see
first
it. Like he has no moves.
his first game was 2019, right? Was
Cleveland
Denver.
Farrell's first game was 2019. He got
Denver.
a sack in the game, and everyone was like, "Oh, he got a sack."
Yeah.
The play was already dead. He just like kind of ran around the end and just
Yeah,
tapped
yeah,
the
yeah.
quarterback
It
when he
was
was on the
it was
ground.
that was Joe Flacco's first game in Denver.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
That
So he
was
goes and like taps the guy on the ground, like, "Oh, he got a sack. He's gonna be a star." Like you can just see, like he doesn't pass the eye test, and Tyree Wilson clearly does not pass the eye test. So yeah, I mean, we do need help, but The sad part is I don't even know what we can do because they're not going to draft another edge rusher this year.
No,
They're not going to cut the guy.
they're
They
they're
should, but they can't.
they're gonna give him a few games into next year. The new regime will give him a few games into next year. But if he doesn't pan out, he's gonna be on waivers like in a heartbeat because he doesn't have it. And we know that, like you just said, he does not have it, one. And two, I think in the offseason, you try to look and sign a pass rusher. I mean, we had Chandler Jones, who wasn't much, but I mean, he was better than what we have right now. Like Malcolm Kuntz is okay, and we have a couple guys who get some pressure, but that's like once a game, maybe once or twice a game, these guys are getting in the
Yeah,
backfield, and then we have the run stoppers like John Jenkins. So another part I
sorry.
think is going to be big on Sunday is going to be the matchup. I think they're going to put a Meek on Justin Jefferson. I think if I'm not mistaken, Jay Jettas lines up in like he lines up on the outside. So I mean,
Yeah,
if you have a Meek on him, and you have Jack Jones on there too, which is KJ Osborne, and then you have I don't even know who their third receiver is, but then you got Nate Hobbs in the slot, who's also not very good. I don't think Nate Hobbs is amazing. I'd take Amik over Nate Hobbs any day of the week. Amik is that dog though. Like he has that dog in
yeah,
him. So I think you
yeah,
put Amik Robertson on Justin Jefferson, you got your fastest corner, and Jay Jettas isn't a big guy, like meaning like he'll go up and he'll moss you, but I mean, we'll see how. I mean, it's his first game back since he pulled his hammy like 5 weeks ago.
yeah.
We'll definitely
I,
see.
I think I think there's no excuse to get burnt by this guy. Devontae Adams, he's the best route runner in the league, and this guy gets blanketed coverage because they put two guys on him, so he barely gets open throughout the game. We got to do the same thing against the Vikings. Put a safety on top of him. Don't let him go deep, and just force him inside, and like make Josh Dobbs sort of in a double coverage to him. If he's gonna throw to Justin Jefferson, it has to be to double coverage, and you could be Palomal. We have hella safeties. Marcus Peters, or sorry, Marcus Epps. So we have bodies we can throw on Jefferson to make him uncomfortable. So like if you're a serious team, you need to shut guys down like this. Like you can't just go. This guy can't put up like 200 yards on you if you're a serious team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's going to be a key point to stopping him and getting him, keeping him in check. Essentially, is going to be a huge point in this game. Um, but the other thing is, can Josh Dobbs get him the ball? I'm not even sure. Josh Dobbs, like 2 weeks, he'll look like in a future MVP, and then the next 2 weeks, he'll look like Chad Pennington. Like he'll have no clue what he's doing. Like he'll just have no clue what he's doing. He'll run around a little bit and then he'll kind of slide after 2, 3 yards. And Josh Dobbs is not amazing, but he's done the job for them. I mean, I think he won the first 5 games there, and then or four or something. They won four in a row, and then they
Yeah,
started losing. Now they've lost like three out of the last four or something. I don't even know. I don't give a shit about Minnesota, but you get the gist of it. Like he's inconsistent. So if our defense is actually, like you said, a top 10 defense, or they claim, and Ivy League wants to stay next year, they gotta put their foot in this game. They gotta put their foot in
yeah,
his ass. And they gotta get him down. He's gotta go down hard. And we gotta have turnovers. We gotta win the turnover battle. Like there's gonna be a play or two where Aiden O'Connell does something stupid where it's gonna be intercepted, or it's gonna fumble, or a receiver will get punched out or something. I have a bad feeling Michael Mayer is gonna fumble, which he never fumbles, but I feel like, I don't
yeah.
just
He tries to get those extra yards every time,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
always get nervous when he does that. Yeah,
Yeah, in the Kansas City game, I remember a few, 2, 3 times, like where he just started fighting for those extra yards. Like you could just see the ball go, oh, it's punched out from the back. And
yeah,
KC falls on it. Like you could just imagine shit like that happening. So this is a big game for us. But looking ahead, then we have the short week. We have Chargers coming in on the short week. Not too worried about them. We need Colton Miller for that game. Otherwise, Khalil Mack is gonna have a feast day again. He's gonna have 5 sacks again.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and then obviously Kansas City on Christmas. That's gonna be. I mean, that you never know what you're gonna get with the Raiders in Kansas City. I mean, we won in 2020 and then we haven't won there since. 2021 we got blown out 40-9. And then
Yeah.
2022 last year we kept it competitive. Remember on Monday night
Yeah,
we
we should have won that game.
yeah, we
We
should have
should have
won.
won that game.
Bad coaching again. Bad coaching cost us that game too. Like that year, we lost like 5 or 6 one-score game, like games by like
Yeah.
3 points or less. Like
Yeah.
how many games could we lose by 1 point? I have no clue. But that
Yeah.
Raiders team last year had potential to be a playoff team and have a deep run, but the coach was just the problem. I mean, they had everything. They're taking a playoff team and turning them into shit. Man, Josh McDaniels never should coach in the NFL again, honestly. Like he should be coaching in
Yeah.
high school now.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with that. But for these next two games, like you mentioned, I had the same kind of feeling when we were playing the Jets. Like I don't care about their roster. I don't care about their playmakers. If we go up and do our thing, we're gonna get the win. Especially at home. Like I remember we had two guests in the pod and they were naming their defensive players, like Jermaine Johnson, these guys. I'm like, okay. Like if we just go and play our game, we're gonna beat you guys. We're the better team. And we're better than Minnesota and we're better than the Chargers. So we should be 7-7 going into that KC game. Like 100%, without a doubt. If everything goes smoothly and as it should, we're going to win this game.
Yeah, and I mean it's the Raiders, right? It's never smooth sailing. I mean the Giants game was like the most smooth sailing game I've seen in a really long time. Like, but we'll definitely see. I hope we get a statement win here. You know, like I hope we win by more than 7 points or more than 3 points. I hope we win like big.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like the fan base needs it, the team needs it, Antonio Pierce needs it because his job is on the line here. If he doesn't win this game,
It's
that's it.
over.
It's chops. Yeah, it's over. It's chops. Like he won't be the guy. Like they won't make him the full-time head coach if he can't prove that he can come in off a bye and turn things around. And like you said, that 4-16 number, kind of prove that wrong. So we'll definitely see what happens. I mean, I I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, you want to do score predictions?
Yeah, sure. Let's
Yeah. So
going.
in
Going.
this game, I think we're 3 point underdogs against Minnesota, which I don't know how we are underdogs in this game because they put up a stinker against the Bears. They lost 12-10, and
Yeah.
I mean we lost to the Chiefs, so I don't think we should be underdogs at home. I say we definitely cover that because I have us winning.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little close. Like it'll probably come down to the last possession. Like we'll have a lead, and Minnesota will be driving with a chance to come back. I think that's how the game's going to go. But I think our defense will make a play at the end. So I got it. I got it 24-17, us winning.
Yeah. I I don't know if we score a lot of points in this game, just like it's been the last 2 weeks, just because in the second half, it's like Josh McDaniels comes back and Bo Hardegree leaves. Like in the first half, we're pushing, we're driving. First drive against Casey was just beautiful. Then it's just like it goes away. I don't know what happens. He gets tired. He after halftime, like he gets sleepy or something, and he gives it back to Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels sneaks in the building at halftime. Like I'm gonna say 17-10. I'll give it to the Raiders.
Okay.
I think it's just gonna be a shit show game again. I don't think it's gonna be competitive. I mean, defensively it might be, but offensively it's going to be two shit offenses. I don't think Justin Jefferson makes that big of a difference in the game either because of his coming off injury, and he'll be. I don't even know if he's 100%, so he might be limited. We'll see just how the week goes out. But yeah, I'm gonna say 17-10. We get the win barely, but I just that 17-point threshold. I think that's just a curse for us this year.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. It's going to be tough, but I think with the extra week to prepare, I think the coaching should be better, and I'm counting on it being better.
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, Raider Nation. We'll be back. We'll be live on Sunday after the game. We'll recap the game and we'll see what happens there. Thanks for bearing with us. Final season almost done. Just I don't know about you, but I know for us, I'm done next Friday, so got one more week to grind.
Yeah, one more week and we're done.
Yeah, one more.
Hopefully, the Raiders aren't done in a week. Hopefully, we'll still have some stuff to talk about if we win this game. But
I know. That's one thing, but otherwise we'll have Jim Harbaugh to look forward to, I guess, or someone else. Who knows what'll happen by the time spring comes around this year. Like last year, spring of 22, we got Josh McDaniels, and then we got Devontae Adams. Then spring of 23, we did nothing. We got Jimmy Garoppolo. I remember I was in London, and I woke up at like 4 in the morning, like to a report, and I'm like, what the hell? And then it was like breaking news: Raiders signed Jimmy G 3 years, like 80 million or something. I was just so pissed off. I'm like jet lagged, and I'm like, what the going on here, man?
yeah,
Damn. But that's
yeah.
over.
But anyway, yeah, that's over with. That is over with. Anyway, Raider Nation signing off. Thank
We'll see
y'all.
you guys. Bye.